Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing Fido2222. I hope I got the right number of twos. In the 15-minute pool on ICC, so this is a guy I lost to in a recently posted video, I think 2 videos ago. So we have a rematch going on. And that game was very interesting. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't. Maybe I'll play, no, I'm just going to play knight c3. I thought about playing a Catalan briefly, but there was no rhyme or reason for that. So okay, so he plays c6, so we could get into some theory if I played bishop g5. I could also play e3 or even g3, a move I've played recently. Which way to go? Let's play e3. We'll play the most popular move in this position. Last time I had trouble on the clock against them, so hopefully we can avoid that this time around. Bishop b4 is very unusual. I wonder if the idea is like an early knight e4 or something. Quick pressure on the c3 point. That would be strange. Okay, I'm going to play bishop d3. And if knight e4, queen c2, I can't imagine that would be great for black. Yeah, most everyone plays knight bd7 on move 5, which he plays now. Okay, let's just castle. He'll probably castle. Now, what is the bishop doing out here? And can I take advantage of its placement there? I would suspect queen c2 makes perfect sense. Let's do that. So I'm defending c3 with my queen. I won't have to mess up my pawns if he takes. Although it should be said, if he took on c3 and I had to take with a pawn, that's not bad because the tension in the center means that a liquidation will happen and I won't be suffering from double pawns. Okay, so he plays b6. Kind of thinking I might play knight e5. And if he were to take, I take back and h7 would be in trouble. I could also just play a3 right now in a bid to get the bishop pair. But knight e5, bishop b7, f4, maybe. What about a3, bishop takes, bishop here, maybe b4 then? I think I like a3. It's simpler. We'll just play in a practical fashion. Now, b4 or b3? If b4, rook c8, I can play c5 and jam up the position. So what if b4, d takes c4, bishop takes c4? Can he break free with c5 then? I think I would take with the d pawn and then play, after he takes with the b pawn, play b5. That should be good for a small advantage, I think. Let's do that. So the threat is c5. I want to close down the queen side if I can. Yeah, so he's allowing me to do that, actually. I'm not sure that was in his best interest. It might seem like I should play to open the position, but I am slightly behind in development. He's already got his rook opposing my queen along the c-file, so I'm not like completely thrilled to open the position with reckless abandon. So, okay, now I have the ability to play a4 whenever I want. Maybe I should do it now, just to force him to play a6. That could be good. Am I worried about knight e4? I don't think so. Knight e4, I can just play queen back to c2. Bishop b2 was my first thought, but maybe a4 is more to the point. Let's do that. We'll almost certainly play a6. Now, do I want the bishop on the long diagonal, or do I want it somewhere else, like d2? I won't take yet on b5. I'd rather wait and see how this plays out. Okay, let's go bishop b2. Rook e8. He's playing awfully quick moves. But his position is kind of passive already, so I don't mind. Maybe queen c2 as a way to prevent knight e4. We do lose sight of the b4 pawn in playing that, but that's all right. I could also take and then play rook into a7. Yeah, what about that? Because maybe I can double up with tempo. I don't know, though. If I take and play rook into a7, queen c7, he's ready to play rook a8 thereafter. I feel like that might just incite exchanges. Okay, let's play queen c2. My queen wasn't doing a whole lot on c3 anyways. So I'm very pleased with the result of the opening. This is a nice position to work with. So now I can do the same thing. Take. Interestingly, there's a game I saw, and actually assigned as an exercise to a student, where one idea is to trade on b5 and then play knight d2, and then to b3, and then into a5. It was in a structure identical to this. Is that good here, though? Because he has e5 if I play that way. If I take and play knight e2, he might just play e5 immediately and get counterplay. I could play my bishop into f5. There is that. This position is so passive for him. I'm trying to anticipate like where he might break. And e5 is the only pawn break, but it's so hard to achieve. I have a near stranglehold on that square. So I'm back to looking at a takes b5, a takes b5, rook a7, queen c7. Let's say we double. He's just going to play rook a8, though. Trade stuff. Maybe knight d2 isn't so bad. Knight d2, e5. Let's say bishop f5 so my bishop doesn't get locked out. I can make that position work. If knight e5, he'll just trade on e5 and play his knight back to d7. I don't think that's much for me. I could play rook a3 and rook a1, just doubling up right now. That's flexible. Maybe I'll do that first. Am I worried about rook a3, a5? Nah, that doesn't look that good. Okay, let's play rook a3. Just a flexible move. With the speed he's playing, I'm kind of thinking he's going to run out of natural moves to play pretty quick. What? e5? I don't get it. Doesn't that just lose a pawn? So knight takes, pawn takes, knight g4, but I have bishop f5. Don't get it. I could take with the pawn too, but taking with the knight seems more natural. Pawn takes, knight g4, bishop f5. Almost works the same way though. Pawn takes, knight g4, bishop f5. If he defends the knight, I can play h3 and back it off. Okay, let's take it with the pawn. Do I give a check first and then play bishop f5, or just bishop f5 directly? You know, let's give that check.
Check.
And then regardless of what he does, I'm going here. Next move. So we'll pre-move that. I don't know, this seems like a very ill-conceived idea from him. He can play h5 if he wants. But I got to think with my bishop pair plus the total extra pawn, the position is great for me. With this king on h8, there might be possibilities of e6, just opening the diagonal towards this king. Yeah, he's going to sacrifice the exchange instead. Okay, so I probably want to keep my dark square bishop. So let's play it that way. I can take on b5 first if I want, but let's just do the direct thing. His knight might come into c4. It's not a big deal, though. If I take, is knight f3 a problem? Doubtful. I might want to remove this knight. Probably taking that knight is the best play right now. Yeah, let's do that before that knight becomes a problem. Then I'm just going to take on b5. I don't think he wants to allow rook a8. Well, there he goes. This just looks pretty annoying. It's purely down in exchange for nothing now. Let's double up. It's hard for him to get his king off the back rank too. He can go rook h5 and threaten cheapo. Okay, now I have maybe queen c3. There's also rook a7. Rook a7 would force queen d8. Let's go queen c3 first. So now the threat is rook takes c8. He has to play f6. Yeah, this is awful. So now rook 1a7, queen d8. The win cannot be far off after that. f4. Let's start with this. f4, rook e6. For the moment he's holding. I think I could even just play rook b8 right now. Yeah, getting ready for rook a8. He has d4. d4 isn't really much of anything, though. d4, I could even just play pawn takes. Yeah, rook b8 should be good. Pretty simple idea. So d4 pawn takes. If he takes with the queen, I have rook takes c8 winning. So he brings that back. Okay, now I think I just have rook takes c8, queen takes c8, queen takes f6, king g8, queen g7 mate. Yeah, that'll do it.
Check.
Yeah, let's mate next move.
Checkmate.
Strange game. I mean, I'm honestly pretty surprised because last game he played a very measured and pretty strong game throughout as white, and he kind of squeezed me and like opened the position at the right time. But this one, he was like unrecognizable compared to that game. I mean, first of all, he played the entire game in about 4 minutes. And second of all, he made some pretty questionable decisions. Like the opening choice was weird. Bishop b4, that's not the most common move there. Everybody plays knight bd7. And then later, after I got the bishop pair, he allowed me to play c5, which maybe was just a positional mistake by him. Black is pretty cramped after that. And then the decision to play e5. That's actually kind of why I played rook a3. Like, based on the way he was playing it, I somehow had a feeling he was going to do something suspicious. Suspicious as in bad. So, yeah, that's strange. I mean, we've all experienced this, like playing really well in one game and completely terrible in the next one. But, yeah, it's like almost playing a different opponent. All right, but let's take a look at it. So we have a Queen's Gambit decline position right now, but he plays Semi-Slav. E3. So I was debating what to do. I had a game recently where I played G3. That's posted in the 15-minute category as well. Bishop G5 you've seen me play before. So here I opted for E3, just defending the C4 pawn. And then after knight BD7, the most common move, white can play bishop D3 or queen C2 or B3. Those first two moves, bishop D3 or queen C2, the Miran variation or the anti-Miran, those are the most common. But he plays bishop B4. This does slow white down in the center. Like, I'm not going to be able to play pawn to E4 anytime soon, but the bishop is misplaced, and black really doesn't want to take on C3 in comparison to like a Nimzo Indian. In a Nimzo Indian, there's no pawn tension in the center right away between the C4 and D5 pawns.
Check.
So here, if you were to take, it's very nice for me that I can just at any moment get rid of my doubled C pawn by taking, or he can take and solve the problem for me. Whereas in a Nimzo, like oftentimes that D pawn will be kept back on D7 or D6, and white has a harder time offloading the double pawns. So that in a nutshell is why bishop B4 is not that great here. So castle, queen C2. I think it's good just to create a battery and defend the knight on C3. He played B6, I played A3. He took, I took here. Now, I don't want to play C5 yet because he can take, and then the possibility of E5 will be hard to prevent. Like he can just go like rook E8 or queen E7, and I don't think I'm able to stop that move. But once I have the B pawn up and he goes rook C8, now C5 is a lot better because if he takes, I can take with my B pawn, and I keep the E5 square on lockdown. I'm going to start up the engine right about here, but pretty sure rook C8 was a mistake. If I were him, I would take on C4, and then maybe try to go for C5. Like he could do this, it opens the bishop. I was planning on taking and then pushing past like this, but maybe that's suspicious. The computer doesn't like it. Take. I have the bishop pair. My structure's a bit weakened. Knight D5. Okay, I could see why that could be problematic for me, because if the queen plays back to C2, I might run into maybe queen F6, attacking the rook and also this pawn. F4, and I guess if take bishop B2 might be okay for white.
Check.
I have pretty good activity now, even though he has two rooks against the queen. But he should do something like that, like open the position rather than allowing me to play C5. I think that's a big strategic mistake. Now the eval goes up for white. Yeah, and then B5, A4. Just a nice position to play for us. We have the two bishops. I control the pawn breaks on the queen side. Taking for him would not be desirable because he ends up with this weak A pawn that I can just fire at. I can double up on the file, bring my other rook over once I move this bishop. So because we beat him to the punch over here, we played the pawn break A4 first. He's obligated to play A6 to keep his structural integrity. And that means we have the ability to take here whenever we want, because we've already established that it's not good for him to initiate the trade, because that would result in him having an isolated A pawn. So I've just got so many trumps, like more space, the bishop pair, the ability to control the queenside situation. So that eval looks about right to me. +1, 1.5 for white. I think queen C2 is a nice move, because knight E4 is one of the few active moves he could play. So it's nice to just take that away. My queen wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot on C3, so we just control the knight E4 move. He played H6. I went rook A3. Yeah, I was debating between some different moves here. Like I was mentioning on this move and also the previous move, the possibility of doing this, but I didn't think this would do much because I just envisioned a bunch of exchanges occurring down the A file. And yes, we've opened the file, but if we can't keep that file or use it to infiltrate further like we did in the game, I don't know if I want to take on B5 yet, because again, I can time this capture for a more unpleasant moment for black. So I played rook A3, multi-purpose move, mainly doubling, but maybe my rook someday could be useful along the third rank. And he just kind of went crazy with E5. I don't envy his situation. I would not want to be in this position as black either, but you can't play E5. I don't know what to do, though. Like queen C7, just develop and wait. It's kind of what he's looking at here. He's already somewhat dug his own grave. White has all the play in this position. But e5 tactically just doesn't work. I had a little bit of a debate like which way to capture on e5. First I thought knight takes. Knight takes seems more natural, but this might be easier for him to defend somehow. I felt like pawn takes gave him this issue with this knight because it's pretty much forced forward. There's nowhere safe it can retreat to. h7, I just take it with my queen-bishop battery. Knight h5, I think, would run into g4, trapping his knight on the edge of the board. So, knight g4, I gave this check on h7 just to inconvenience his king. This is a good check to throw in if you can, because usually forcing the king to h8 or f8 will be better for you as the side throwing in the check than if the king were just to stand on g8 and you were to play, like, in this case, bishop f5 immediately. I think I would have played h5 if I were him, but there might be some tactical reason why that just fails. Knight g5, that's a pretty strong tactical reason. Yeah, and if g6, he walks right into the discovery. e6, that's a nice benefit of having played bishop h7 and got him to play king h8. Maybe he should have gone king f8 instead, I don't know. Okay, so even h5 just loses in concrete fashion. Here, he has to play f5. I'm sure taking en passant is good, but e6 is even better. Yeah, attacking his queen, attacking the f-pawn. Knight f7 check followed by knight d6, forking his rooks could also be good. Yeah, I don't think he can hold this position. So take, I took, he took, I grabbed the exchange. And I thought his knight might become pesky. And my bishop, it's a nice piece on the diagonal, but his knight is threatening to jump in here, and I would have to calculate knight f3, so I think taking it is just the best thing to do. I would have taken with the c-pawn probably if I were him, even though it's bad, and I gain a protected pass pawn. I think it's better than letting me infiltrate on the eighth rank. Yeah, now he's stuck to the defense of the bishop. He needs to get out of this pin ASAP, but it's not easy to do that, because he tried to do it with g6, but that weakens the other diagonal. Queen c3. I guess the immediate rook 1a7 is also good. Oh yeah, because I can just play, what, rook takes f7 after that? Not sure why I didn't consider that. I liked queen c3 because it created that threat of rook takes c8. The queen is overloaded, trying to defend both pieces. So this also completely wins. Thought about f4. Rook e6. Yeah, rook f7. This also works, huh? I guess in this case, I'm threatening to double on the 7th rank this way. And then go after his king. I like the way that I played it, though. Rook b8, I think this is a good idea. It's easy. Just double the rooks, and he's got too much stuff on the 8th rank. His two most valuable pieces, the king and then the queen. One thing I had to calculate was d4. It's kind of a last-ditch attempt, but like one idea would be here and then this, which probably loses. Yeah, I think I saw a line like this, actually. This is kind of a funny line. He can't take with the queen because of rook takes c8, and I'm just winning. He has to give up his queen to avoid mate. So he'd have to play this, and then I think I can just double up. And the two rooks dominate the bishop and the queen. Even if he runs, I take. And yeah, I would assume my two rooks are too strong for his queen. Even if I'm not winning directly. Yeah, simply pushing the c-pawn. His only chance is some back rank Hail Mary, but like right now he can't even leave the back rank, so I get rook a7 in. I'll be mating. So now it's just a matter of time, a matter of managing my time and not letting him get too many counter chances. And d4 was one counter chance he had, but yep, and he blundered into rook takes c8 in a bad position. Nice deflection.
Check. Checkmate.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, just strange. Because based on that last game, I would have expected him to play a much stronger game. I'm not ragging on him, and I'm definitely not accusing him of like cheating or anything. Don't get that impression. I know I've had some accusations of cheating on previous games recently. Not cheating necessarily, but I've just played some opponents lately, honestly, that I think have played like pretty weird. like I do chess like all day, every day. I teach chess. I play a lot now, especially that I have the channel. And there's just certain things like people do that are just really strange to me. And people blunder, people make mistakes, but like the way he played this game is just a lot weaker than the last one. And it wasn't because he like blundered. It was just like a lot of the repeated decisions and um, just almost like carelessness, which he played this game, which wasn't present in the previous one, where he beat me in a very strategic style where I had few chances throughout the game. So take from that what you will. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be back with another standard game. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.